G'day, welcome back to another video on using our identity sine squared theta plus cos squared theta equals 1 to help us find exact values. The last video we worked on some simple calculations where we manipulated this formula to help us work on known values. This time we're going to work something a little bit more tricky, and we've got a couple of examples up here. So we'll look at these examples, explain how it works so that way you can see how these calculations are coming along. So, let's move it up a little bit. If sine theta equals 1/3, find tan theta exactly within the range of pi on 2 and pi. So, let's bring in our information again. So we've got sine theta plus cos theta, or square theta, is equal to 1. I know that sine theta is equal to cube, 1/3, plus cos squared theta is equal to 1. So this kind of looks like something that we did in our last lesson where we were finding our cos theta, but we had negative 1/3. Same thing here is we're going to get that same answer. 1/9 cos squared theta is equal to 1. Bring the 1/9 across. Cos squared theta is now equal to 8/9. And then we can square root. So therefore cos squared theta is equal to root 2/2/3. Now, let's have a look at this part here. We found out what cos is going to be, but we've got it in terms of a range here. So if we look at our unit circle again, we've got all stations to central. Well, within this range, we worked out last time that cosine was negative. So we're going to keep that as negative again. And we also know that we are trying to find tan. So in this section, tan should be negative because the only thing that's going to be is positive. So when we look at solving this, we've got to remember that other rule or other identity that we kind of came up with. And that was tan theta is equal to sine theta divided by cos theta. And I have both of these answers in terms of what sine theta equals and what cos theta equals. So if I write this out, this is going to be equal to 1/3 divided by the negative root 2/3. Whew. Looks a little bit confusing here. Let's write this out another way that kind of will make a little bit more sense. So 1/3 divided by the negative 2/3. Now, when you started learning about fractions way back in year 6 or 7, we learned a rule about when we divide fractions, we actually find the reciprocal of the second pair and then multiply it. So we're going to be doing the same kind of thing here. So this here is the same as doing 1/3 times 3 on 2/2. And now we've got this here, we can cancel things down. The 3's can cancel down, so therefore we're left with an answer of negative 1 over 2/2. So using sine theta equals 1/3, we're able to work out what cos theta is, and together using this little formula here, we can work out what the tan theta would be in that set, which is minus 1 on 2/2. But again, think in the back of your head. It's sitting up here in this region. So if you didn't get a minus here, you got a positive, then you've done something wrong. Okay, just whack that minus in front at the end. But you should get a minus because only sine is positive here. Let's look at the second example. So the second example is a little bit more work to it, but we'll get through it together. So the second example, it says, well, we want you to find cosine and sine theta if tan theta is equal to negative 12/5, and we want it now within the range of 3 pi on 2, pop that 2, and 2 pi. So if we look at this question here first, the first thing we're going to do here is, well, we need to work out, well, tan theta, that's equal to sine theta over cosine theta. And what we already know here is that sine theta over cosine theta is the same as tan, so therefore this here is the same as writing negative 12 on 5. So let's find out one of these variables first, and then use that later on to substitute it in. Well, one way I can find this is, let's find out what sine is. So we can multiply both sides by cos theta. So therefore we have sine theta is now equal to negative 12 on 5 cos theta. So let's remember that, because we're going to come back to that a little bit later. So we've worked out what our sine theta is going to be. So now we know what sine theta is, we can rearrange some data to help us work out what cos theta is going to be. So let's take this part out, rewrite this up here again. So sine theta is equal to negative 12 on 5 cos theta. Well, just like in the previous one, we now can use this formula. So we can say that sine squared theta plus cos squared theta is equal to 1. I have an answer for sine here. My answer here is negative 12 on 5 cos theta. So let's replace that. So now we're going to have negative 12 on 5 cos theta all squared plus cos squared theta is equal to 1. So let's now simplify this out. We can use our understanding of this part. If we square all this, we're going to get 144 over 25 cos squared theta plus cos squared theta is equal to 1. Whoa! I've got some like terms here. So what I can do in this case is I can start adding things together. Okay, so if I'm going to add things together, I'm going to have 1 over 1. So therefore I'm going to have to times it by 25 and add, increase these here by 25. So if I collect like terms, I'm going to get 169 over 25 cos squared theta is equal to 1. Well, I now know I can divide both sides by 169 over 25, and we learnt in that previous one, if I'm dividing, I'm going to just flip these. So therefore, cos squared theta is now equal to 25 over 169. So if we have that here, we now get to get cos by itself. So therefore, square root both sides, cos theta is now equal to 5 over 13, plus or minus. But again, we're in the region of 3 pi on 2 and 2 pi. My circles are getting smaller. So in this case here, the part in this here is where cos is positive. So therefore, cos has to be positive. Okay, I've worked out my cos. I now want to work out my sine. Okay, is there somewhere around here that I can use to help me work out what sine is? What do I do? I have this up here. Remember I worked out sine right at the start. I know that sine theta is equal to negative 12 on 5 times cos theta. I have an answer for cos theta, which is 5 on 13. So now I can rewrite this here as sine theta is equal to negative 12 on 5 times